first and foremost, where were you? Why? It's been a very busy day here. It's the fourth session of the first half of the marketing track at Hot Takes Live. I know it's a lot of content. And up next is Will Foust. Hey, Will.
Hi, how's it going, Armando?
Going really well. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
You are the chief critic at Adversary.
Adversary, yep.
Stage is yours.
Thank you. Well, just a little bit about me real quick and a little bit about what I'm bringing to the table today. Today, we're talking about the 4 most dangerous words in advertising. How have I gotten to know what these 4 most dangerous words are, and how have you not? Well, my job is chief critic. I work for a small consultancy called Adversary. What we do is we do strategic teardowns of larger strategic campaigns and also tactical elements like landing pages, things like that, apply them against best practices, as well as recruiting ICPs for qualitative evaluations. So we've gotten to see a lot of different things come across the table that make sense, things that don't, and how we understand these 4 most dangerous words. The 4 most dangerous words in advertising. How have I gotten to hear them? I got to work on the brand side. I've gotten to work on the agency side over the past 25 years. And the one thing I've learned is that people think marketing is a bit of a soft skill. They see it in movies, and they see it in TV shows, and they see Mad Men, and they think, well, Don Draper does this, I can do it too. Well, it's a little more complicated than that. And you can automatically tell when somebody says these 4 words to gift to you, because you automatically can tell that they are approaching something that they know very little about. They have a lack of understanding about what they're being asking for. They have a lack of respect for the people who are doing it, and they have a lack of appreciation for the work that's being gone into something. And that's purely a function of people thinking that marketing is nothing more than a soft skill. And everybody in marketing knows that it's not a soft skill. That's PR. PR is a soft skill. But what are these 4 most dangerous words? 4 most dangerous words are, it just seems like. When you hear these words, it's a gift, and you get to understand what somebody means and what they think and what they're approaching a problem as. They're approaching it with a lack of appreciation. They're approaching it with that lack of understanding, like I said. Some great, it just seems like moments through history. It just seems like you could carry my stuff for me. Sir Edmund Hillary to Tenzing Norgay, Everest, 1953. It just seems like you should have booked the Beatles, Letterman to a sad, sad booker, 1982. And it just seems like I can declassify these things at any time. Trump to himself, Palm Springs, 2021. Moments in marketing history. We've all seen this, and these are all near and dear to my heart. Places where people come in and they say, oh, it just seems like these icons could bounce. We all appreciate unsolicited design. Expertise from people who don't really understand and appreciate what goes into it. A client to me in 2005, it just seems like we could double the budget and double the leads. Well, it just seems like it, but with this mathematical economic theory called the point of diminishing returns, it doesn't always necessarily work like that. And this is my favorite, and we've all seen this and we've all heard it. It just seems like we could make this go viral, because it is just that easy to make something go viral. Where are we today? Moments and just seems like it just seems like present. It just seems like AI could do all of this writing for us, along with all the design work and along with all the management. Well, that seems like a great idea, but it's not really tenable to have all these things happen like that. And it's, once again, not a clear understanding of what AI can do for you and what AI should do for you. When you hear these words, it's safe to assume that you're dealing with somebody with a highly non-technical background, somebody who doesn't understand what goes into a website or what goes into a design or what goes into any of the elements that are there. Coming from a place of pure, the truest meaning of the word ignorance, people coming from that place of utter, complete ignorance. It just seems like you could do this thing that I have no concept of what goes into it. Another thing that's a bit of a gift when you hear these words is you get to understand that you might be dealing with just a narcissist who loves their own ideas. Happens all the time. We've all seen that. C-level. And people who love just espousing their own ideas and getting into it and making other people bring their vision to life without any real appreciation or understanding of what's gone into it. Honestly, more times than not, whenever you hear it just seems like, it's probably a pretty bad idea from a CX perspective, from a UX perspective, from a general business perspective. And the reason for that is typically whenever you hear these words, the person has stolen the idea from somebody else. And that's just an unfortunate reality of where we are and what's happening in the world. When somebody sees an idea, they automatically want to apply it to themselves, and they want to apply it to their business. And the number of times I've had a C-level people get off an airplane and tell me that they want to do something that they read about in Sky Miles or the Delta Sky magazine is not only frustrating, it's a little scary, because when you hear these words, you automatically know that there is no rationale for it. There is no sound judgment behind it. There is nothing other than somebody saw something and they want to do something, or they think that this could happen quite easily and quite painlessly without an appreciation of the technical elements that go into developing something like that. So how do you deal with it? Well, the truth of the matter is when you hear it, just seems like you will shudder for the rest of your life, I hope, because you understand now what those 4 words are loaded with, those 4 most dangerous loaded words. But it's okay. It's all right. When you hear those words, you have an opportunity. As marketers, we have an opportunity. We know we're dealing with somebody who doesn't appreciate marketing as anything more than a soft skill. You know you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have anything technical to bring to the table. You're dealing with somebody who might have pilfered the idea from somewhere else. And you're dealing with somebody who just may like their own ideas and want to see them brought to life by somebody else, by underlings, and then take the glory and credit for themselves. And that's fine. We live in business. It is what it is. But the opportunity here is despite all those negatives, you have a few golden opportunities here to develop, to listen, to make some connections, and to help dispel that it just seems like, and replace that with I understand a little bit better. So the first thing is listen to the person. There could be a jewel in their ignorance. And when we say ignorance, we don't mean it with that connotation of you're dumb or you're stupid or anything like that. Ignorance is simply the vacuum of knowledge. And when somebody brings you an idea that comes with that vacuum of knowledge, there may be something in it. Listen to it, understand it, get to the heart of their idea, because they're trying to communicate something. They think they can. They obviously can't, because they started off with those 4 most dangerous words. They don't have the vocabulary. They told you they don't have the vocabulary when they said, it just seems like. So listen to them. Help them get to the point of what they're trying to communicate and give them that vocabulary, because you're going to start to break down those walls of it just seems like. Thirdly, lastly, know why you did what you did. When somebody comes in and says, it just seems like, they don't have a great appreciation for what they're asking for. They don't have a great appreciation for what you've already done. Make sure you communicate to them why you've done what you've done and where their idea fits, if at all, into it. Kibosh it, kill it, make sure they understand, but know why you kill an idea. And it doesn't come from a place of my idea is better. It doesn't come from a place of I'm a creative. It doesn't come from a place of I'm a strategist. It comes from a place of this is why. This is the why of what we're doing. This is the why of how it's happening. And this is why your idea doesn't necessarily fit into it. Or better yet, maybe this is why it does. Key takeaway. People think marketing is easy. They want to help, but you've got to take their feedback. But remember, you're the expert. You're the person in charge. You're the person who is not only in charge of this thing that's thought of as a soft thing, you're in charge of bringing it to life and making it a real thing. And if you water it down with bad ideas, if you water it down with yes sir-isms, if you become a simple yes man, you are the reason why agencies fail, and you're the reason why marketing fails, because you're just doing whatever is asked of you. You're an order taker, and order taking is the great failure of marketing. So that's what we've got. We'll jump into some questions. But before I go, if anybody wants to come and check out Adversary, we are at ad-versary.com. Yeah, adversary.com was taken, so we have a hyphen. And come and check us out. And if you check us out, fill out a form, we'll do a quick consultation with you, and you get 1 free tactical teardown, landing page, PPC creative, anything like that. We'll do a teardown for it against best practices, and see, take it for what it's worth. And if you like what you see, we'll do some more work with you.
Love it, Will. Thank you so much. It just seems like you don't like to mince words.
I do not like to mince words. I do not, and I feel like I've even tried to mince a few here, but no.
It's funny. Matt was saying in the chat, you might have the spiciest, boldest, and hottest steak yet.
Oh, that's awesome! Cool. Well, I'm happy to be here to offer it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I love everything about it, by the way. It's interesting because it feels like one of the emerging themes is you were mentioning this, like if someone mentioned those 4 words, there might be a knowledge gap,
Yep.
right? Let's put it that way. And so it's an opportunity to understand what, like, one of my frameworks is go back to first principles. Like,
Yep.
what do you mean? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want to unpack? Like one of the things that happens all the time is, oh, I read this on this blog. Sounds awesome. Should we try it?
So many times. How many, like every marketer here who's worked on the agency side or the brand side has had somebody come in and say one of 3 things. 1, I read it in an airplane magazine. If I hear read it in an airplane magazine, I automatically know I should just quit. I should just go away.
Or the customer.
Yeah, exactly. 2, I read it on a blog. That's at least, somebody's online, and that
Did
makes
some
me feel
work.
better, right?
Yeah.
And 3, hey, I saw this when I was driving into work today, or I heard this on the radio or something like that. Well, those are all great things. They're all couched in decent, like, all right, there could be something there. But the reality is you've taken something so immensely out of context and immediately applied it to your business. It flouts any sort of rational kind of sniff test at all. Yeah. And so we run into that so often. And it just, it says the best gift that they can give you, though, is to say that and bring you a stupid idea, because you can automatically figure out that idea is bad. This is why that person thought that idea was bad. And let's help you get to a place where you can make it right.
Right. And so, like, on top of that comment around understanding more where they are coming from, what they mean, what do they want to achieve, that first principle type of conversation, like you were mentioning in that last part of your recommendation, like doing your own work, being able to articulate why you've been doing what you've been doing, which I think it's also absolutely spot on. One thing I'm wondering, and to some degree, it's an opportunity to educate on, hey, it's not as easy as you think it is, or it's not as, the thing that you have in your mind, that's not reality. That's not how it works.
Right.
So question around to which degree after the fact versus before the fact, like, do you have a framework for it? Do you do it? Like, because to some degree, one could argue that if you have to articulate what you've done after you've done it, maybe you should have mentioned that earlier, like take the opportunity to educate that before the fact.
Definitely. And, so it's interesting because you definitely need that opportunity before the fact, but you're still going to run into this kind of editorial after the fact. Right. So no matter how much front loading you do, this is why we're doing it. This is what it is. This is what it is. When you hear those words, that somebody's coming at it from a place of ignorance automatically, right? So no matter how much you front loaded it, obviously there's a delta that got missed somewhere, or that somebody's created their own delta, that their own variance, their own white space that they're looking to fill and pack that in. And the reality is some of the work you can do at the front, some of the work you're going to have to do at the end. And the best thing you can do is pay attention and look to see what kind of argument you're going to have to make to get it where you need it to be.
And also, like, to some degree, I don't know if I think you would agree with this, but just want to validate that the fact that there might be, like, if these 4 words come up in between the process, there might be a symptom of like a lingering misalignment of some kind that was not addressed.
Misalignment, miscommunication, lack of communication upward. That's one of the big things that happens more often than not, is you're dealing with a team here, then you present to a team here, or you deliver to a team here, and that team here has not communicated back down to you what they're seeing above them. And so when you present to that higher level has a whole different idea of what they're expecting. You've not been communicating with them, or they've not been communicating with you, whatever. That communication has just gone away.
There's a gap somewhere. Yeah.
There's a gap somewhere. And that happens more often at the C level than anywhere else. And so we jokingly say, well, the C level is where the like they don't know anything, man, because they're the ones who say it the most. But the reality is the C-level is the most disconnected from the actual work.
Yeah, and the ones that need to abstract the most as well, because they're seeing too many things. So wait, it's on them to do the work to understand, or it's on you to be able to explain?
It's on us, but honestly, the biggest problem is it's FaceTime, and it's the ability to be able to find that time to connect and make it. Because and a great example of this are websites, right? Websites are the most. Everybody has an image of what a website is, but if I came to you and said, Armando, we're going to build a new website for breadcrumbs.io, and here are the 54 things we're going to do on it, there would be a 55th on there that you had thought about, but maybe you hadn't mentioned, or it didn't pop into your head until we were in the final creative review, and or anything like that. And that's where that happens.
And also, like thinking through this out loud with you seems like there is oh my god,
you just caught yourself, didn't you, buddy?
It just seems like that there is a level of abstractions, like translation needed in between the two, right? So there is a role for a person, because like for the C-level to understand, you need to be able to synthesize stuff and to summarize stuff in an effective way, because time window is so short, and there is so many other things happening all the time.
Right. Well, and a great example here is a C-level disconnect between on a chatbot. Recently, I was working with a company who had a great chatbot on their website, right? And the CEO said, "Well, how often is this manned?" And my answer was, I think based on what I've seen, it's only manned about 8 to 10 hours a day, based on U.S. time zones. And he said to me, he looked at me and he said, it was literally a few days before I had this conversation with you, it just seems like we could have that staffed all the time. Well, it does seem like that. It does seem completely capable of that. When he looked at me and said that, I said, well, it just seems like you should probably talk to your call center and make sure that staffing is happening all the time, because it's not a question of marketing. It's not a question of anything like that.
But what's the cost associated with that?
What's the cost associated with it? What's the manpower associated with it? Do you offshore that? Do you do da? And it was a lack of appreciation for the fact that he had a VP make a series of decisions. That VP had communicated it to him, had not communicated it to him, whatever that math was on that. And where the end result landed turned out to be a place where he had an expectation for something that was untenable within his organization, but he didn't have an understanding of the inability to be able to make it happen.
Right. Will, this was awesome. Thank you so much for this. We're going to drop offline for a little more than 60 seconds to welcome the next speaker. Stay there.